Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 4, short O and short U. Please take a second to gather your materials. You should have your purple book open to page 29. You will also need some colorful writing utensils. Remember that whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your paper. Please save space for a key. If you can't find space on here, go ahead and write it on a sticky note or another piece of paper. Remember that at any point, if I'm going too fast, you should feel free to hit pause and catch up. All right, so let's get started. Over the last few weeks, we have been focusing on short vowels. Our first week, we talked about inflectional endings, but then after that, we moved right to short A, short E, and short I. So today, we're going to round that out with short O and short U. So as I read this list of words to you, I want you to listen for that short O, ah sound, or the short U, sound in each word. All right, please repeat after me. Another, colony, comedy, comforting, company, compromise, concentrate, constantly, deposit, discover, disgusting, honesty, interrupt, operate, policy, politics, probably, property, substitute, and tolerate. Okay, did you hear that ah or in each word? Great. All right, so just like before, we're going to take these big scary words and break them into manageable pieces. We call those pieces syllables. So in the word another, we can slice another, call ni, com d, comforting, company, compromise, concentrate, constantly, deposit, discover, disgusting, honesty, interrupt, operate, policy, politics, probably, property, substitute, tolerate. Okay, so in our key, pink line equals syllable break. Okay, now that we've broken them into syllables, we're going to look for the stressed syllable in each word. Remember, the stressed syllable is the part of the word that we say a little louder and a little stronger. So in the word another, it's the second syllable that is stressed. So we're going to check that off. Colony, it's the first. Comedy, it's the first. Comforting is the first. Company, first. Compromise, first. Concentrate's the first. Constantly is the first. Deposit, second. Discover, second. Disgusting, second. Honesty first, interrupt, third, operate, first, policy, first, politics, first, probably, first, property, first, substitute, first, and tolerate, first. Blue check equals stressed syllable. Remember, the nice thing about the stressed syllable is that it's easy to spell because we can hear all the sounds. So if you look at pol, prob, prop, sub, tol, there's nothing tricky about those. However, you probably noticed that in some of these words that have a short U sound, that short U is being represented by an O. Remember, you learned about this way back in first and second grade with words like love or glove or, I don't know. There's a whole bunch of them. You learned that O sometimes steals U's sound. So it's happening again in the word another, comforting, company, let's see where else, comforting, company, discover, disgusting, honesty, interrupt, operate, policy, politics, probably, property, substitute, tolerate. Okay, so that's it. So those 1, 2, 3, 4 words, you're just going to have to remind yourself that O sounds like U. It's taking on that sound, okay? Now, let's not confuse short U with schwa, even though they're very similar. Short U says schwa says right? More of like a punch in the gut sound. We hear that in the unstressed syllables. That is the trickiest part this week. I don't think you're going to have trouble with these short U sounds, but you might have a little trouble with the schwa, because keep in mind, schwa can be represented by any of the vowels, A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes by vowel teams as well. So let's choose another color, and we're going to hunt for our schwa. There it is in another, colony, comedy, comforting, no, company, compromise, concentrate, constantly, deposit, I don't hear any schwa there, discover, no, disgusting, nope, honesty, I hear it with the E, interrupt, no, operate, no, policy, there, politics, probably. By the way, that word probably is tricky because many of us, when we're talking, we swallow that second syllable. So instead of saying probably, we say probably, right? So you got to listen for that. We ran into this with previous weeks with words like interest, right? We think interest instead of interest. So you really have to listen for that middle syllable. Property, substitute, tolerate. Okay, so in each of those words, brown circle equals schwa, that sound. That's going to be the tricky part this week. You're going to really have to figure out which vowel to put in to make that schwa sound. Okay, I also want you to notice that we have a bunch of prefixes this week. Remember, a prefix is added to the beginning of a word, and it provides us with some clues about the word's meaning. So for instance, we have the prefix dis. Oh, that doesn't work. How about let's see. We have the prefix dis in discover. Dis can mean the opposite. So the opposite of honest is dishonest. The opposite of like is dislike. The opposite of cover is discover. Think about it. When you discover something, it's like it was hidden and now you've lifted the cover off it. So dis means the opposite of. Even here with disgusting, that root gust comes from Latin, right? It has to do with taste, something that's to your taste or your liking. So if something's disgusting, it's the opposite of what you like. It's the opposite of your taste. Okay, so we have the prefix dis. We also have the prefix sub. Sub means under, right? Like a subway goes under the city, or a submarine goes under the water. If you substitute something, it's kind of like a step below. So if you're making a recipe and it calls for, I don't know, cream, but you don't have any heavy cream, you might have to substitute something else. That's like a step below, right? It's not as good, usually. So sub means under, and then com means with or together. So think about it. When you make a compromise, do you see the word promise hiding in there? When you compromise with someone, it's like you're making a promise with somebody else. I'm not going to get exactly what I want. You're not going to get exactly what you want, but we can meet in the middle. We can compromise with each other. One more prefix I want you to notice is inter. Inter means between. Think about it. If you take an international flight, you are taking a flight between two countries. Maybe you're going from the US to France, right? If you hop on the interstate, that is a highway that's going to take you between states. It might take you from Connecticut down to Florida. So inter means between. If you interrupt a conversation, you are coming between two people. They were talking and now you are interrupting. Okay, so all of these examples are prefixes. Okay, now we can't talk about prefixes without also talking about suffixes. So prefixes go to the beginning, suffixes go to the end of a word. I see a suffix right here in comforting, right? If something is comforting, it brings you comfort, okay? If something is disgusting, it brings you disgust. So notice what's happening. We're taking the noun comfort and we're changing it to an adjective, comforting. That is a comforting item. We're taking the noun disgust, which is a feeling, right? You're filled with disgust, and you're changing it to an adjective. That is disgusting. Okay, so ing is a suffix. We also have a suffix right here, this ly, changes constant to constantly. Constant is an adjective, right? Like I have a constant headache. Constantly changes it to an adverb. It is bothering me constantly. One more suffix I want to draw your attention to is the y in honesty. Sometimes you can put a y at the end of a word and change it from an adjective to a noun. So when a person is honest, they show honesty. Not every Y is going to change an adjective to a noun, but it does happen here. So, orange box equals suffix. All right, and then the last thing I want to talk about, since we covered prefixes and suffixes, we also want to think about roots, especially because later this week, when you get to page 32, you're going to have a whole page dedicated to the root RUPT. All right, remember last week we talked about the Greek root dec and how dec means 10. Today we're thinking about RUPT, and we can see it right here in interrupt. That is not working very well. Make it lime green. That's not working very well either. Okay, RUPT means break. So if you are interrupting a conversation, I'm going to say a green equals root. If you are interrupting a conversation, you are coming between two people and breaking up their conversation. Okay? You're going to see a whole bunch of words that have rupt in them, like erupt. If you think about a volcano erupting, it is breaking through the earth, right? Or a pimple erupts, it breaks through your skin. All right, very quickly, let's make sure we know what all of our words mean. Another, I think you know, right? By the way, when you're spelling it though, did you notice it's a compound word? An other, keep that in mind. Colony is a group of people that live together, or a group of animals like ants. Ants live in a colony. So let's just say colony is a group that lives together, okay? If you study American history, you learn about the colonists, the people that came from Europe on ships and started new settlements, new colonies, right? There were actually 13 colonies that became the United States. So 13 different groups of people living together. Okay, a comedy is something that's funny. So when you're picking out a movie, sometimes you want a drama, sometimes you want sci-fi, sometimes you want a comedy. So a comedy is just something that is funny. Think about a comedian. What does a comedian specialize in? Comedy. They get on stage and they tell you funny things to make you laugh. Something comforting makes you feel good. Company can mean lots of different things. You can work for a company, which is a group of people that work together. You can have company at your house, which means people come to visit. We talked about compromise, right? You make a deal. Concentrate, you think hard. Constantly, non-stop. Deposit means to put money in the bank. So you go to the ATM. Let's say you just got a bunch of birthday money from your relatives. You go to the bank and you deposit it into your savings account. We talked about discover and disgusting. Honesty, I think you know. Interrupt, we talked about. To operate something is to use it. So you can't operate a car unless you're 16 and you have your driver's permit, right? So you can't use it. A policy is kind of like a rule. It's not as strong as a law. You're not going to get arrested for breaking a policy, but you could get in trouble. So for instance, at your job, there might be a policy that says you can only dress down on Fridays. The rest of the week you have to wear nice clothes. Most stores have a policy that says you can't come in here if you have no shoes on, or in the summer you can't come in without a shirt on. So that's a policy. So let's just say a policy is kind of like a rule. Politics. Anything that has to do with getting elected, right? Being a candidate, running for office, convincing people to vote for you or to vote for a law or a bill that you believe in, that is politics. So for politics, I'm just going to write government stuff. But there's more to it than that. Probably means, yeah, I think it's going to happen. Property is stuff you own, right? So your parents might own a house, that's their property. They might own a car, that's their property. Anything that you bring into school from home, if you have a pencil box with your own crayons and pencils and scissors, that's your property. People can't take it from you without permission. We talked about substitute. We have substitute teachers who fill in for us when we can't be at school, but you can also substitute stuff like in a recipe if you don't have the right ingredients. Sometimes if you go to the store and they have a special deal, if they run out of that item, they might substitute something else. So they might say, okay, we had a deal on the big packages of pork chops. We've run out of those, so you can substitute 2 small packages instead. And then the last one is tolerate. If you can tolerate something, you can handle it, right? Some people can't tolerate lactose or gluten, right? It might give them a stomach ache, so they have to eat other things. Some people can't tolerate bright lights. They have to wear sunglasses. Some people can't tolerate loud noises. It gets them upset. So if you can tolerate something, it means you can handle it. All right, I know I threw a lot at you right there, but you are ready to go. So get started on that unit, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.